Hi, I'm Craig, and I want to show you a quick, easy, and cheap way to patch accidental holes in your sheetrock. Now, the nickname for this is the California patch. And the advantages to a California patch is the only materials you need is a scrap piece of drywall and some joint compound. You don't need screws, nails, glue, sheetrock tape. You don't need any wood backers behind it to back it up to screw it to. Nothing like that. It's a very simple procedure. In fact, you're going to love it. And the only tools you need are as follows.
Any kind of basic square, a pencil, a sheetrock saw or keyhole saw, a utility knife, and a sheetrock knife. Now I prefer a 6-inch because it's small enough to maneuver yet large enough to spread adequate material.
Okay, so here we have your basic hole between two studs. This is where your square comes in. All you want to do is square off a hole a little bit larger than the broken area because the sheetrock actually shatters when on impact. So you want to make the square hole a little bit bigger than the broken hole. Pick a nice even round number. In this case, 4 inches. Come down here, do square, then 4 inches again, and close your square. So now you have a 4-inch square. Actually, I'd go a little lower with that one. So in this case it will be 5 by 4, which is fine, just as long as you've got about 1 inch of good solid sheetrock around your hole. And here's where your sheetrock saw comes in. You do what's called a plunge cut. Just strike it with your palm, get it through. And follow your lines. Now take special care when you're doing this. There could be wires or pipes behind there. Just feel for this. I've been doing this for years, so if I feel any resistance at all, stop, look. You always want to feel around in there first with your fingers just to make sure there's nothing in the way that you're going to hit. The last cut. So that hole is 4 by 5. Every square has a ruler on it. And remember, our hole was 4 by 5. Now when you're cutting your patch, you want to go 2 inches larger in width and in length. So this one's going to be 6 by 7. So it's now a full 2 inches wider in length and in width than our hole. We take our utility knife, lightly score, and since this is a scrap patch, we just take it all the way off the edge, break it, turn it over, lightly score the back, now we score the other side. Just give it a little snap. That's all you need to do is score the surface paper. The inner plaster will shatter just like you're cutting glass. You just score it and it just breaks. So now we have a patch that is 6 by 7. The hole is 4 by 5, so you have 1 inch buffer all the way around. The surface is the light side, the back side is the dark side. So this is the side you want out on the outer surface. Okay, so now we flipped it over, this is the back. Here's where the extra 2 inches comes in. You come in 1 inch, and I like to give it a little bit more for wiggle room and for mud. I'll explain that in a few minutes. So we're going a little bit longer than 1 inch, all the way around the back side.
we're going to double check, and that's just a little bit under 4, and the other was a little under 5, which is what we're looking for, so that the plaster will make up the difference. And now we score the back side just as we did the front side. Now this is the only part that takes a little bit of skill, a little bit of finesse. You don't want to be in a hurry. Just go ahead and score all your 4 lines and snap it just as we did the other side. No, we're not going to score the front. We're going to preserve the front paper. So now that the back is scored, we snap it and we very gently peel that plaster away from the front paper. And you're going to need to score it with a knife first, right between the paper and the plaster. You're trying to preserve that front paper, so you don't want to tear it, you don't want to poke a hole in it. You just want to create a line there between the paper and the plaster where you can peel that off. And very gently pull it apart. And if you leave a little bit of plaster behind, that's okay. You can scrape that off with your fingernail, with your knife when you're finished. Okay, so here's our patch. It's 4 by 5, or a little bit smaller so that it will fit into the hole easily, with a 1-inch flap all the way around it, which is why we preserved the front side of the paper, which was 6 by 7 as you recall. That's what that extra 2 inches is for that flap. Now if you tear the paper here like I did in a small place like this, that's okay. The mud will fill that. But if you go much larger than that, you might want to cut a whole new patch, start over. And if there's any plaster left over from the sheetrock, like this right here, you can just scrape it off with your fingernail or with your knife and get that out of the way. So here's your finished patch, ready to go.
Now what I like to do is be sure and pack it around the edges, because you remember I said we had wiggle room, so I made this a tiny bit smaller to fit in the hole. That's where the mud fills in. Mud will take up that slack. Going all the way around the perimeter. Don't worry about getting too much, because it will squeeze out. So that's what we have. It's buttered all the way around the perimeter of the patch. On the back side, of course. Okay, next we put a thin film around the perimeter of the hole. Now here's where you don't want too much. You just want enough for the paper to adhere to. You gently place your patch in place. And then you give it a good skim coat over top. Now, as always, in any kind of drywall or sheetrock work, you're going to want to let it dry, come back, hit it with a second coat of mud, maybe even a third, and sand, of course, and then you're ready for paint. That's the California patch. I hope as you do it, you find it as quick and as easy and as inexpensive as I've described. When you have something unfortunate you have to deal with, you might as well make it easy and have some fun at the same time, right? So go patch that hole, and good luck to you.